sorry, I misunderstood. Charge. It's still dark. Oops. Our new people. Our new people. Mess. Okay. We're all ready to go? Everybody's ready? Everybody ready? Madam Clerk, we're ready? All right. All right, now that the council members are present, we have one council member who is absent, Council Member Orozco. I will call to order the June 5th meeting of the City of West Sacramento City Council, West Sacramento Redevelopment Agency, and Finance Authority. We will begin with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that the land on which we live, work, learn, and commune is the original homelands of the indigenous people of West Sacramento who have stewarded this land throughout the generations. We acknowledge and we thank the original inhabitants who have occupied, maintained, and secured this place and who still exist on the land. We respect and celebrate the many diverse indigenous people still connected to this land on which we gather. The council met in closed session this evening. Mr. City Attorney, would you please provide a report?
The council took no reportable action.
All right, thank you. City Attorney, we would like to invite our guests to join council and staff in the pledge, which will be led by Reverend Scott Hill. Please come to the podium and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
Thank you so much, Mr. Hill. As is noted on our agenda, City Council is prohibited by state law from discussing or taking action on any items that are brought up under item 1 for public comment, but it provides an opportunity for, at this time, to address City Council on issues not listed on the agenda. And we do ask that anyone wishing to address the council on this or any other item this evening, please fill out a request to speak card that is located there at the corner and return it to the clerk. We accept the request to speak cards up to the conclusion of the reading of a staff report on any particular agenda item. Once the staff report has been read and we open the item up for public comment, the clerk will announce your name for you to walk up to the podium to speak. Now, in front of the clerk, there is a timer to ensure that everyone has a chance to be heard. And we ask that all the comments be limited to 3 minutes. Also, in front of the clerk is an analog flip chart, which indicates which agenda item the council is currently considering. We also recognize that for some, speaking in public can cause anxiety, so we request that there be no applause, boos, catcalls, or other demonstrations. Furthermore, so that we may maintain a civil discourse here in the chambers, we ask that those in attendance and those who address the City Council abide by the code of conduct posted on the wall and also on the podium, and not speak in loud, threatening, offensive, abusive, or other disrespectful language that disrupts, disturbs, and otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting. Now, this brings us to item 1 on presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the council, and each person has 3 minutes to speak. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
First request to speak is Guy Stevenson.
As of last weekend, nice to see you, Martha and Norma, last weekend at that fentanyl awareness. I think it's very, very important that people need to know that that is a killer drug. And outside of here, you know that I'm a licensed mortician, so I deal with a lot of those type of cases. It's very, very sad, you know, when you have 18 to 45 that die. This drug is very, very hard, and it will kill you in a minute. And I want the community to have more shops like last weekend, because I think it's very important that people know that this is a deadly drug. But everybody has this attitude, it ain't gonna happen to me, or it ain't gonna happen to my family members. It can happen to anybody. It's not a discriminating drug. It's like Propanol. They're drugs that are just take your life in a minute. So that was the one thing. The other thing is, City Council Member Hall, I think what you did with the P-bid in the South area in Sacramento, and you did a really, really good job. I just wish over here that they would do what you did over there, because you did a really good job. I've talked to a lot of people about it, and there's a big mortuary actually right there, Sacramento Memorial Lawns. It's cleaned up. That whole area is because of that P-bid, with all those businesses getting involved. And I think every couple of months they have meetings and they share information, and it's productive information. So I give you props for that, and I hope in the future moving forward they're going to have a P-bid here, right here in West Sacramento on West Capitol. I think it's important, and it works. And they have one over there in North Highlands off of I-80 and Watt Avenue all the way down. That's all P-bidded too. So, and they work with the police, they work with different agencies and different stores, and they all work together and share information. So yeah, that's what I want to see happen here. And maybe if I put enough fire out there, they'll do it. So thank you very much. All right, ladies, have a great night. Be safe in the heat.
Thank you, Mr. Stevenson. If you could take a look at our calendar, our goals, you will see that it's already included in there. And you could speak with staff further about that particular.
Robin Davis.
Hello, I'm Robin, and I live in my 160 square foot semi-off-grid tiny home on wheels on my undeveloped residential property here in West Sac. Plenty of housing news as usual, and I was able to have an impromptu conversation with a state assembly member today who is on the budget committee, and they are serious about holding local governments accountable on where all the funds for homeless is going, and they want to see results. So we can look forward to more state oversight on that. Also, Assembly Bill 2433 was passed by the Assembly last month, which is to help streamline the building permit process and make it more efficient. Again, everything we have been talking about and advocating for at the local level is now at the state level, which is why I'm looking forward to the Tiny Home on Wheels ordinance coming back to council that includes a very simple, streamlined permit process to go with it. Additionally, if we want to ask for another $20 million a year in taxes that can be used towards homelessness, then we also need to show that we have implemented and exhausted all possible housing options. If we deny any path towards an affordable, efficient, sustainable, and tax-free housing option, then the people are not going to be convinced this government deserves more tax dollars to use to mitigate homelessness. Those actions will contradict each other, so I'm confident this ordinance will be used to its full potential. The draft ordinance was supposed to be done by spring, according to Regional Sewer, but we have yet to hear any updates on that from our staff, so hopefully it will be on the next council agenda. There's always a lot of housing news to be aware of, but I also wanted to invite everyone to our Neighbor of the Month ceremony at our Brighton Broderick Community Center this Friday at 10:30 a.m., recognizing a longtime resident of West Sac, Lupe Armenta. Neighbor of the Month is a way neighbors can nominate neighbors for the things that maybe people don't get recognized for. Not everyone can or wants to attend a council meeting or is on social media or hosting fundraisers, but there is serious mutual aid happening on our streets that helps keep this city functioning. And Lupe is an amazing human and is the sole inspiration behind this initiative. He deserves more than a ceremony or a certificate, but we can show him, we see him and appreciate all he does. So I hope all consider joining us at the Community Center on Friday at 10:30 to meet Lupe and his family and kick off the initiative. Thank you.
We have no additional requests to speak on this item.
All right, thank you so much, Madam Clerk. Next, we have our item 2 is presentations on a proclamation of the city of the West Sacramento City Council recognizing June 2024 as Pride Month. And we have some representatives here. If you can come up to the podium, I'm going to start off with reading the proclamation, allowing you to give us your comments. And then we'd like to take a photo with you, if you don't mind. And then, but if the council would like to provide some comments before we go down, take a photo. Okay, good. We'll do that, and then we'll go down, take a photo with you. Okay? And so let me read this. Designating June 2024 as Pride Month, whereas the city of West Sacramento stands in solidarity with the LGBTQIA+ community, affirming the rights of all individuals to equality and freedom from discrimination, whereas we recognize the intrinsic worth of every person, regardless of age, gender, identity, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical abilities, deserving fair treatment and respect, whereas the city of West Sacramento embraces diversity as a cornerstone of our community's vitality, fostering inclusivity and understanding among people of diverse backgrounds, and whereas the contributions of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersexual, asexual, LGBTQIA+ communities enrich our city culturally, socially, economically. And whereas the city of West Sacramento envisions a world where every member of the LGBTQIA+ family can live authentically with liberty and equality guaranteed by the law. And whereas a society evolves in its understanding of sexuality and gender, education and awareness must remain essential to combat discrimination and prejudice. And whereas to honor the ongoing journey and raise awareness within the Pride movement, West Sacramento will proudly fly the rainbow flag, symbolizing light, healing, sun, tranquility, creativity, and spirit at City Hall throughout June. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the City of West Sacramento Council on June 2024 be designated as Pride Month in the City of West Sacramento. We urge our residents to reflect on the ongoing struggle for equality faced by the LGBTQIA+ communities and celebrate their invaluable contributions enriching our city. Mr. Reverend Hill, please.
Thank you. I got a brief little history lesson, and then I've got a challenge that I want to give all of us. So LGBTQ Pride Month traces its roots back to 1969 Stonewall riots, which started on June 28, 1969. The first Pride began the year later, in June 28, 1970. It commemorates the multiple riots, and the one-day celebrations eventually evolved through the entire month of June. The Black Tavern, a club which I frequented in Los Angeles, was in the neighborhood of Silver Lake, neighborhood of Los Angeles. In 1967, it was the first site of the first demonstrations in the United States protesting police brutality against LGBTQI people, preceding the Stonewall riots by 2 years. The rainbow flag, or the pride flag, is a symbol of the LGBT pride community and all the social movements. The colors, as just was mentioned, represents the diversity of our community. The flag is a symbol that began in San Francisco, California, that now is worldwide. The book of Genesis teaches us that the rainbow is a covenant by God to all creatures, that the earth will no longer be destroyed by the flood. I see the symbol of the pride flag as a promise to all humankind, to one another, to love one another, no matter gender, sexuality, race, creed, that we all need to be treated with love, kindness, and respect. The flag flown today in front of City Hall is a commitment from the city of West Sacramento that we all honor these peoples. What a beautiful testament. And at this point in time, I normally would say amen. I have met many of our LGBTQ elders in the Sacramento region. Yes, I too am becoming one of them. They have shared the stories of West Sacramento, and that West Sacramento was a haven for many of our LGBTQ folks with the different clubs that were here at one time. They have shared the stories of how they met their lifelong partners here in West Sacramento. I give the city of Sacramento an A for those achievements. A's? West Sacramento will be hosting the A's next year, isn't that right? What a tremendous accomplishment for the entire Sacramento region. I moved to West Sacramento 8 years ago, and the only symbol I saw of LGBTQI inclusion was a small banner with the pride colors flown on the pole and the bridge district close to Sutter Health Park. And as you were crossing the Tower Bridge into Sacramento, it is no longer there. I present a challenge to all of us that are gathered here tonight. Let us provide flags and banners with all communities along the bridge district to share our inclusiveness with a new national A's audience. Let us fly flags and banners to share our African American heritage, our Latino heritage, our Asian, Muslim, and Fijian, Ukrainian, Jewish, and women pride, and all the others. Let's fly these colors with pride. Let us show the world and the United States that we are a city of inclusiveness. Thank you, West Sacramento, for honoring the LGBTQI Pride Month in the month of June 2024.
Thank you, Reverend Hill. Bring it back to council for some comments. Members Kizo?
I will happily kick it off. Thank you for being here tonight. And I knew a lot of other folks in the audience came here for tonight's proclamation as well, so thank you for joining us. So Councilmember Orozco couldn't be here tonight, but I'd like to include her in my comments. We extend our greatest support for this proclamation and the flag flying at City Hall. There's a meme going around right now, and it hits home because it says pride is important because someone tonight believes they're better off dead than being themselves. And coming off of Mental Health Awareness Month in May, authenticity and honesty and people living their best lives true to who they are is just core to what Pride is about. And I love Pride. It's rooted in joy and inclusion and celebration of who folks are. And it's just an honor to represent a city that recognizes Pride, that flies the flag. I know there's going to be a handful of us who will be marching in the Pride March this weekend and supporting our community in that sense. You know, I wear my shirt, West Sacramento is for everyone, and I truly believe that. And so thank you to the council for this proclamation, and thank you, Reverend Hill, for being here tonight and speaking on this.
Councilmember O'Connell?
Thank you so much for being here, and I see that your spouse is also here.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of being in your home, and, you know, being the recipient of your wonderful hospitality and great cooking, both of you. You know, one of the things that struck me in the proclamation, they said an evolution, and it really has been an evolution in education and in acceptance. This last February, I performed the wedding ceremony for my niece, Sarah, and her wife, well, now wife, Gio. And it was a beautiful celebration with all the family coming together. We must have had about 60 folks there. And that's something that would not have been done when I was growing up. So thank you for helping raise that awareness, for everyone who has helped raise that awareness. And yeah, I'm really proud of our council for coming out. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I was just sitting here reflecting on even just the short amount of time, even from when I was a kid, how far we've come in regards to acceptance and inclusion. And I really am just so proud to be a part of this council and be able to not only have this proclamation, but really represent that West Sacramento truly is for everyone. For me, I think back to even recently you talked about a meme, just looking at Instagram, and I'm a huge Oprah fan. I promise I won't digress. And seeing her just reflect on even just her own brother and where he was at with feeling that he was truly a part of the community, and even her talking about, and it was, again, not that long ago, that even just going on the Ellen DeGeneres show, when that first show came out, and the hate that she received from just saying yes. And just how far we've come in that short amount of time. I'm looking forward. I will be marching this Sunday, proudly, excited, waving every single flag I possibly can. And I absolutely adore that time, because you just feel the love of our city and our region that we really are accepting. And so thank you for coming here. Thank you to my colleagues for being so supportive of this, because still, even today, not everyone is. And with that, I would also say that we just have to continue to be vigilant. We have to continue to hold the line, because there are people right now fighting against us being seen, being heard, and continuing to be true allies in inclusion.
Wave our thanks.
Oh, I know, huh?
Well, Reverend Hill, it's been, you know, wonderful also, you know, being invited to your home. We talked about a street crosswalk there. And, but yes, I think how gracious you were when you asked me to sit down. You had baked for me. And it was nice meeting your husband there too. And that was just so sweet, just who you are as a person, but also our entire community, knowing that members of the LGBTQIA community is struggling still to this day in our generation. And seeing what has happened even in Yolo County in our education system, just words can be very hurtful. And our youth, our community are watching us as leaders. And for the community to stand up and say, hey, look, we're going to hold you accountable for your words, I think is huge. And I'm just so grateful that not only are you with YOLO Pride Democratic Club are demanding that we hold everyone accountable to what they say, but that, you know, we also bring this warmth and appreciation for your presence. Just do more than that. Show appreciation, invitation to allow for you to be who you are, but also contribute to what we're doing in our community, not just being present, but contribute, because that is significant for all of us, is that ability for us to be who we are as individuals. And so we know there's going to be a corner in our lives where we don't feel accepted, but here in West Sacramento, you are embraced, loved, appreciated, and we want to see you contribute so much more. So wherever this council can help you continue in not only just this day, but all throughout the year, enhance your contributions in our community, we are here for you. And so thank you for your leadership in continuing to present the flag, which you've given to us. We are so grateful for that. And thank you for continuing to help us to be more aware of what this day, reflects. And with that, I think we can all go down for.
Madam Mayor, we have 2 requests to speak on this item.
Oh,
Would you
do.
like to take public comment now or
Yes,
after the
we'll
photo?
take public comment now.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me know. I'm sorry. I think you texted.
Michael Vargas?
Ready? Well, hello, friends. So my name is Michael Vargas. I am a trustee on the Elk Grove Unified School District Board of Education, so we're a neighbor from the south. I am one of the only 2 LGBTQ school board trustees in the region, and so I wanted to come here and thank you for this. We in education are sort of on the front lines of a lot of these issues right now. And one thing I've realized is that I think we as adults tend to think that our world is separate from the world in which our children inhabit. And the reality is that it's not. And I think to give you an illustration of what that was like, we in Elk Grove have had some political actors come to our meetings and have opinions on things, which is fine. That's what we welcome it. But I then went and visited one of our schools, and I was going around, and the principal said, "Hey, I want to introduce you to some students," and took me in. And a group of students was sitting there and started grilling me about why we weren't responding more forcefully to all of these things. And I was sitting there thinking, like, are you really watching our meetings? You have nothing better to do on your Tuesday nights? Come on, guys. But they were very serious about it. This is, for them, it was having a real impact on their lives. And as we've seen with a survey out of the Trevor Project, 90% of our kids now or LGBTQ kids feel that their mental health has been negatively impacted by the politicization of LGBTQ issues in the broader society. And that's the kind of thing that, as an educator really kind of hits you and says, we need to be better. We need to be more proactive. And so I am here to thank you for being part of that, for being a partner in that. Because we can only do so much, right? As a school board, we can say these things. As educators, we can say these things to our kids, but we also need our cities to say these things. We need our legislatures to say these things. We need our faith leaders to say these things. And only by doing that, by surrounding our kids with that love that we know that they need, only by doing that are we going to start to chip away at some of these challenges that our kids are going to face, for their entire lives. And so, again, thank you all so much for this. I really appreciate it, deeply appreciate it. And please, if I can be of assistance, if I can be an ally to you as well, partner in this project, please do call on me whenever. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Alex Hirsch.
Good evening, Mayor Guerrero, members of the City Council. I'm Alex Hirsch. I'm here tonight simply to express my strong support and gratitude for this resolution tonight. When Reverend Hill sent out the call asking for allies to come and speak in support of this resolution, I knew that I had to do this tonight because it's important to recognize on Pride Month and tonight's Pride resolution that the LGBTQIA+ community is loved, They are appreciated, they are seen, they are recognized, and they are loved by their allies in the community. There's a pop culture franchise that I'm a fan of, and one of the phrases in it is infinite diversity in infinite combinations, IDIC. And I think that's such a beautiful expression of what pride means. It means that people can be proud to be who they are, to know that their love, their identity, their self is treated equally with respect, equally with dignity by everyone in the community. And so to see the council recognize this tonight, I think is a beautiful thing. As Trustee Vargas mentioned, there are communities right in our own backyard that sometimes have difficulty, either through officials or through members of the public, in recognizing the beauty of diversity and the beauty of pride. And to know that this council is unanimously in support of that message is truly deeply inspiring. So simply as a member of the Yolo Pride Democratic Club and the West Sacramento Democratic Club, let me say I'm so proud of this city tonight. As a resident of West Sacramento and a voter in West Sacramento, I'm so proud of each of you sitting at the city council dais and supporting this tonight. And I simply want to express my heartfelt thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hirsch.
We have no additional requests to speak on this item.
Great. And I invite all who would like to be a part of the photo please come up, and we will join you with the proclamation. Thank you.
So I think I'm stuck with that.
Next is item 3, a presentation of a proclamation recognizing June 19th as Juneteenth National Freedom Day. Mayor Pro Tem?
Okay, very excited about this. And so, whereas the city of West Sacramento acknowledges the significance of commemorating the liberation of enslaved African Americans and celebrating their invaluable contributions to our nation, and whereas Juneteenth, also known as Juneteenth National Freedom Day or Emancipation Day, marks June 19th, 1865, when Union General Gordon Granger proclaimed the end of slavery in Galveston, Texas, aligning with President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation from over 2 years prior. And whereas Juneteenth symbolizes a key moment in American history, marking the long-awaited attainment of freedom and the ongoing struggle for racial equity and justice. And whereas Juneteenth festivities offer a platform for contemplation, education, and discourse on the historical adversities faced by African Americans and the ongoing efforts for equality, inclusivity, and social justice. And whereas Juneteenth serves as an important reminder of the strides our nation has made and the continued work that still lies ahead in achieving equality. And whereas the city of West Sacramento is committed to fostering a diverse, fair, and inclusive community dedicated to upholding and honoring the rights and dignity of every resident And whereas the City of West Sacramento encourages all residents to recognize Juneteenth by attending the city's Juneteenth celebration on June 14th at Bridgeway Lakes Park, this is an opportunity for all to participate in activities fostering cultural empathy, racial harmony, and unity within our community. Now, therefore, be it hereby proclaimed that by the West Sacramento City Council that June 19th be recognized as Juneteenth National Freedom Day in the city of West Sacramento, urging all residents to commemorate this day and engage in events promoting the emancipation of enslaved African Americans and promoting the values of equality, justice, and diversity, proclaimed this 5th day of June 2024.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Early. I appreciate you reading that for us and reminding us of our event on June 14th. Greatly appreciate that. I hope I'll see you there. And it's going to be a beautiful day. It's something we need to do in our community. Any other comments among our?
Yeah, okay. So I have just a couple. So really, our celebration on June 14th is going to be an opportunity for us as a community to come together and recognize this important day, an important time, both in our history and also this day, and how it is important to so many community members here in West Sacramento. I am once again honored by and humbled, quite frankly, by my colleagues, because it wasn't that long ago that we did not celebrate Juneteenth in our city. This historic day in which our family members, our friends, our loved ones were freed and had no idea. So many people that I spoke to in our community, just even in my life here in California, this wasn't necessarily a day that we really recognized or understood the significance and importance of. I think it's amazing that we now actually have this as a holiday for our city staff. This was something that this council did because they understood the importance that it means for all of us to be able to come together and again, take a moment to remember, take a moment to educate ourselves. I'm also extremely honored and humbled that this will be the 2nd annual Juneteenth celebration that the city of West Sacramento is doing. I think it's amazing, and I think every single year it's going to be even bigger, even better. And I will tell you some of the comments that we heard. Councilmember Sapicio Hull was there with us last year for our 1st annual, is I cannot believe West Sacramento has a Juneteenth event. I heard that so many times as people just happened upon our celebration, walking through and saying, wow, this is amazing, and how far West Sacramento had come. I also knew it meant so much to our football players, largely young Black men who got to, again, see how important this is both to city leaders, but also to their community, and seeing that they were seen and that their history was being recognized. Because it is. African American history is American history, and that we were seen and not erased. And so thank you again to my city staff who are working on this. Kate, I'm looking at you. Big props, big ups, because I know it's a whole bunch of on top of everything else, but it means so much to all of us. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I agree. Thank you to everybody who contributed to our Juneteenth celebration. And I hope that all the staff relax and enjoy the day off on Juneteenth. So with that, and I don't know if any other council members have comments before I move on. No? Okay, great. Next, we have our consent agenda items 4 through 17th, and I'm going to pull item 13. Good. Do you have any other item you'd like to pull? Other items? Okay, and then I am pulling item 14 out to our next city council meeting. So with that, I'm taking out 13 and 14. I'll accept a motion to, Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on any of the agenda items absent 13 and 14? I would like to get that moved.
We have no additional requests to speak on consent agenda items,
Okay,
with the exception of number 13.
okay, and that's going to be taken out. With that, Councilmember Alcala moved.
Early seconds.
Councilmember Alcala moved and Mayor Pro Tem Early seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sulpicio Hull.
Aye.
Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Early.
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. All right, the consent agenda is approved. So for item 13 under Parks and Recreation is consideration of Resolution 24-63 appropriating $250,000 of park impact fee funds and authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase and sales agreement for 2286 Del Monte Street. And I believe we have Kate Smith, our Parks and Rec Director, here to answer any questions that we have. And so, Councilmember Alcala, you had questions?
Well, I wanted to hear the presentation because I think I did have some questions about the 250, where it was coming from. This is for members of the public to be aware. And exactly how much was being purchased in terms of footage acreage.
Sure. So thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. The item in question is property number, address 2286 Del Monte Street. It is adjacent to 1100 Clarendon Street, which is the home of 26 acres of parkland that has been identified as a future park site for our city. The specific property is 1.12 acres, includes a 12,000 square foot facility that we will look to conduct a feasibility study to understand if this property has value in keeping the facility for possible indoor recreation opportunities, or if we would take the facility down and use this space to improve access to the park site. I will note that the 26 acres at 1100 Clarendon Street is owned by Washington Unified School District, and we were able to secure a letter of intent with them in 2018 that outlined the partnership that the city and Washington Unified School District is planning on, which will allow the city to renovate that space and actually offer it as a public park space to our residents. And so this opportunity came up. It was not in the strategic plan only because it is a private property. So we were unable to identify private property, obviously, because we had no idea if it would be available. And so when city staff became aware of this property being for sale, we were taking the opportunity to really invest in the future mobility and access to the site. So if you look actually on the site, the east side of the property at the 26 acres, which has quite a few residents, is the main point of entry and exit. And so residents will have to work through future traffic, possibly, with that park. And so by purchasing this property on the southern end, it allows for an additional access point and improving mobility.
Okay, thank you. Is this considered surplus property that we can purchase?
Surplus, meaning state surplus property?
No, state surplus isn't WSDs.
So the property's currently privately owned. I'm going to refer to our
WSD.
city attorney on that.
Yeah, the parcel in question is privately owned. It's not WUSD property.
Not
It's just
WUSD.
adjacent to the WUSD property.
Okay. Prior to purchasing this property, did we have any public comment or any public input? Did we hold something to make the public aware of this purchase?
When we became aware of the purchase, when we became aware of the property being for sale, it was the end of April, and we came to City Council in closed session on May 1st. And with real estate transactions, that falls under closed session. And so we had presented the opportunity to City Council, and at that point, we received your approval to negotiate. And so then we went to the broker and negotiated. Our plan was to come back to City Council on May 15th because of the time sensitivity, knowing this was a private property. We were unsure how many potential buyers there might be. And then it did get pushed from May 15th until today's meeting. And then yesterday, we held our Parks, Recreation, Intergenerational Services Commission, and we did provide them with an update that this was our intention to purchase this property.
Okay, you said it's adjacent to residential properties. That's why I was asking if there had ever been some sort of outreach to those members of the community.
So actually the 2286 Del Monte Street is not in a residential area. It would provide an additional access point which would alleviate traffic in the residential area that currently provides access to the 26-acre parcel at 1100 Clarendon Street.
Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Okay, just a quick question. Is there a way for you to pull up the map?
I'm gonna
It's in the staff report, so is that it?
You pulled up.
Yeah, there is a map in the.
Yes, so could you pull it, could you just pull it up?
I'm going to defer to our clerk.
Okay, Jennifer's nodding yes. Thank you, on the fly. I see you, you got your cape on.
So while you're doing that, I can put some questions out there
Sure.
as well. So this property, just to be clear, the reason it's like you said, it's not included, it's private property, it's not included as part of what I now see as a site called the Charter School in the Parks Master Plan. I misread it as maybe the Westfield when I was looking at it, but it's the Charter School. And that plan, the Parks Master Plan, has $0 so far. Would this accelerate the planning of that to modify that 0 to something in the foreseeable future?
Yes, possibly. The plan was adopted in 2018 and goes until 2028. So that is why there is a $0 there, because they were not anticipating actually starting construction before 2028. With the purchase of this property and hopefully a partnership with Washington Unified, there's potential for that, but we would still need to work towards that, and it would definitely be included in our update of our master plan.
Okay, great.
Mayor, may I ask?
I have questions
Sure.
after you're done.
So, right, I was going to say, so 26 acres, I mean, that's for sure. Okay, it's a for sure thing.
So again, it's Washington Unified School District property. It would remain Washington Unified School District property. We have a joint use facilities agreement that allows the city to maintain and operate multiple green spaces, especially in the northern part of town, because it is very landlocked. And so we work with them on their school property, and that allows us to offer it as a public park space.
So is that similar to what we have with Bright?
Yes, yes. And so in 2018, there was a letter that was actually signed by the Washington Unified superintendent at the time, as well as the city. And the letter outlines the intent to allow the city to work with them on the design and construction of the 26 acres, which you can see now up on the screen. And so that has been in the works since 2018.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank
Early,
you.
yes.
So I think it's important to potentially understand, and so I appreciate the staff report, but similar to my colleague, Councilmember Alcala, I'm going to reflect on some things that potentially either, your public member may not see or understand right within the staff report, which is this park, this 26 acres was contemplated and is referenced, as our mayor said, in our Parks Master Plan, which was put together also in 2018?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. And so, again, that big old green square is part of those 26 acres. That was already part of the plan. What we're saying here is, again, depending on how you're situated, right now it's going to be to my right. You have all that residential right now, those neighborhoods. When you are wanting to access the field, my son played River City, he was a junior River City football player, right? Or if you go and you want to march in the Veterans Parade, for instance, you go there. Where I park is I park in the neighborhood. I drive through the neighborhood, I park in the neighborhood, so does everybody else when they're trying to access, right, this field. And what we're saying is, as part of this park master plan, we would be activating this even more, similar to Councilmember Alcala, as you said, Bright Park. So even more activities would be happening. What this purchase would allow us to do is to spare our poor residents that even within Brighton Broderick, we hear about with the Bright Park, right? You're parking in front of my neighborhood. I can't get through my own neighborhood as people are trying to activate that. It's almost guaranteed you would get this in the current setup, right? There is no other way to access what this will be, which is a 26-acre park as it currently is. You would have to park in the neighborhood. You'd have to do all the things that we already do. And so imagine even more traffic, even more parking. And so we realize that. Thank you so much for being proactive about this, because what that then means, if we were to purchase this land, this property, now you have another egress to be able to get into what, again, is already planned, will happen eventually in this area, as well as potential parking and other things to access this. And so I think it's really important as we talk about what the potential of this purchase would be. It would, again, be access to this park and not having to guarantee that we would be, again, inconveniencing, I think, is not quite a significant enough word, these residents.
That's correct.
Okay. Continued question. So out of the 250,000, if we decided not to move forward with purchasing it, how much would the city lose?
Sure. So $120,000 would be refunded, and $120,000 would remain with the owner. That is a due diligence cost that would basically allow the owner to maintain the property from now until December 31st. So that would include building security, landscaping, and just overall upkeep and maintenance of the building. And so if we decide that we do not want to pursue the full purchase in December 31st, then $120,000 is what the risk would be.
And we accrue park impact fee funding annually, which is the funding we're using.
Correct.
And the reason why we're using park impact fee is because you're taking a look at using this building possibly as a future indoor recreational use. And we don't know exactly what that is yet, but you're going to explore that.
Possibly. So park impact fees can only be used for real estate or for new park developments, or greatly enhancing a park. So we are unable to use park impact fees for repair and replacement costs, operations and maintenance. And so park impact fees do have a very specific use. And so that is why we're using it for this property.
And you couldn't use a park impact fee for the road, fix the road?
As long as it is access to the park, which it will be, yes.
see.
So we could not use a park impact fee on a road elsewhere in the city,
Yes.
Unless, again, it is providing access to that new park site.
So to rehab an older park, we can use a park impact fee?
Not necessarily.
Oh, no?
It's not, we're not able to use it for repair and replacement costs.
Oh, I see. That's specific. How is that established, the park impact fee?
I might have to defer to one of my colleagues on that one. Our finance director will join me up here.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm trying to figure out, could we use it for like Alice Norman to fix?
Our impact fees in general are, sorry, we're very different heights here. Okay. Impact fees in general, they are collected on building permits for new development, and they are intended to mitigate the impacts of the new development or to develop infrastructure to serve the new residents from that new development. So there are nexus studies that are done in accordance with, there are very prescribed laws on this. We have to look at, create the nexus from the improvements that need to take place to the development that is happening and the new population. And then it sets the fee, and that fee is collected on building permits when new development happens. And then those fees are collected and then can be used for capital costs for infrastructure to serve new development. So for Alice Norman Park, for example, if we are improving and expanding the function and the use of the park to serve additional population and new development, it could be used. In fact, Alice Norman Park is in the master plan, which was used to create the Nexus study. But the impact fees cannot be used to replace playground equipment and do repairs and things like that for existing parks. They really are intended to create new infrastructure to serve new development.
Councilmember Alcala, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to ask this. So those impact fees, let's say you added a new area, the park, it would have to be added. It couldn't be existing and you calling it
You could do things on existing areas, but you have to be, and the attorney's probably going to jump in here soon, probably to my benefit, but you have to be doing things that are going to expand the uses and serve the new development. So if you've got the people who are paying the fees, say you've got a place over here developing, you're going to have 5,000 new people come in that need to use parks and they need park space, right? So you either create new parks. If they're going to need sports fields, you can add that kind of the pieces in existing sort of regional parks, things of community-wide benefit that are going to serve the community. So if you're adding new baseball fields that are going to serve the new development, then that would work, even if it's on an existing park site. It just you have to be improving and adding functionality to serve new development. So usually in parks, it's new park land, additional park land, but in some cases, improvements to existing community parks, if they are going to expand the uses and serve new development, that would qualify.
I'm just going to ask something a little off, but sure. Let's say Bright Park, the school that's there, Riverbank, let's say they wanted to do, and have the space right off the center, something that would enhance the community, such as setting up like a dance studio within the school. I mean, could you get park impact fees? The reason I'm asking this is because I was just taken over there by the school principal and shown a very large area right off the parking grid. And she was saying that it's not used for anything and how wonderful it would be to have a dance studio. Right now they have a climbing, one of those rock climbing walls in there. But she was thinking that perhaps they could create a dance studio, hoping to partner with the city and provide, let's say, from 3 to 4 free dance lessons. Is that money that we could use? I know it's a little off what we're saying here, but I'm just...
There are typically master plans developed which identify
I think we've ventured a little too far from the agenda item before us
I
here.
understand that, but I had an opportunity to ask. That's why I was
Yeah,
asking.
there are typically
Would that
master
be
plans,
money you could
and we
use?
identify, here's the things that we need to do, the parks we need to create, the cost of those, and we utilize that to come up with the fees. So the fees that are collected are to implement purchase the property and implement and construct the improvements that are identified in the master plan. So if it's not in the existing master plan and the park impact fee was not necessarily developed based on that, not necessarily, I mean, there's a lot of legal pieces because we have to follow the law, but typically the impact fees are used to mitigate impacts for new development on infrastructure and plans and things that were identified already in a plan to serve that new development.
Okay, no, the only reason I was asking, as I said, is because I know we have soccer, we're having things out there in our master plan for the kids and stuff. And this is just a component, that someone thought maybe.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with what is all in our master plan, so on something specific like that, we'd have to go back and
Okay.
evaluate that.
Okay, I'll give you a call.
Bringing Kate back up. I have a few more questions, Kate. Sure. I appreciate that, that there's an opportunity to purchase a building for future recreational use. I think taking a look at the concerns I've received from families who are not in social media, I'm all tracking this, but families who are concerned that we do not have enough. We have our rec center, indoor recreational, just the complaints that, the basketball is used only for the adults, very limited time for young children. I get the, and we've looked at ways to expand those times, and it's just really hard. Boxing, there's just not enough space for indoor boxing activities. And I'm just curious to know what else you've heard from the community that this site can potentially provide as an opportunity in the future.
Sure. So I can say that we have wait lists that are currently active for all of our youth basketball programs. So our under 6, under 8, and even under 10 at times. And so I know that is currently impacted. And then we have also received feedback at the rec center to have more gymnastics or martial arts or boxing available. Pickleball has been another activity that has been thrown out. We do have 6 courts that'll be going in at Westacre, but in the due diligence period here, the next 4 months, that will be our goal, is to really look at what the needs are and what the cost could be if we were to keep that building. So again, we don't want to make that decision until we fully understand it.
And that I really appreciate as well. I asked initially about the cost, and we just don't know at this point. That would be on top of the 2.4 million. And the revenue source is not specified here, the 2.4 million, because we just don't know if we're going to buy it just yet. You have the park impact fee identified, but the rest of it we don't, because we don't know yet what we're going to do until we get, and that date is December 31st.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And if the building, after looking into what it would cost us, is going to be too much, then we, again, would be exploring actually possibly taking the building down and creating additional parking. That would give us enough space for, again, we're looking at roads and or trails and really just creating a larger access point to the 26 acres.
Right. And you referenced no place for parking, but I think the parking that we see here has shrunk a little bit. The parking spaces the footprint of the parking has shrunk since, I don't know if this is a latest.
Are you referring to the map in the staff report?
Yeah.
So currently, it's not a public space. So Washington Unified uses it for their MOT in kind of the south part of the property line there where the solar panels are. However, they have identified that they want to move that to the north parking area. So again, when you're looking at access, they might occupy some of that space to the northern part of the property. So that's another motivating factor for us of trying to find alternative ways to improve overall access and mobility.
Okay. And the streets are very narrow. That's the VFW, the veterans, the VFW's Veterans Day Parade. There's no space to get around out there other than residential area. And so we do need an access way, which this opportunity has opened up, as Mayor Pro Tem Early has referenced for us. Whether it all pencils out, I think we need to explore that further. I haven't completely decided. I'm going to wait for the public comment. And one last question is, given that this particular building is not in the parks master plan because it's a private building, the opportunity for future discussion with the public, Parks Commission, others, what does that look like? How do we fold this in?
Yeah, we definitely look forward to having community feedback when it comes to, the design of the space. If we do decide to keep that building, we will have community feedback specifically for the building. And then the park planning, that will be in collaboration with Washington Unified. So that will take a couple years probably, but we have a strong relationship with them. I know that they are currently using that space for some of their elementary school renovations. However, planning could coincide at a parallel timeline while they're still using that space.
Okay, and I forgot to ask one more question. As we take a look at the planning for parks, what is our overall, expectation for the city for, you know, the acreage, footage, whatever it is, for the city, and where are we at today? And our Parks Master Plan is outlining how much more?
Yes, so in 2018, the recommendation was made that we should have 5 acres of parkland per 1,000 residents, and we were at 3.6 acres. So at that time, we were already in a deficit of about 72 acres of green space, and the goal is to add 110 acres by 2028. And so that is why this property, the Clarendon Street, is really critical in allowing us to work towards getting to that goal and having the amount of green space that we need for our city.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate all that background, Kate. All right. No other questions? With that, I'll open it up for public comment. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
Danny Langford.
Good evening, ladies. So I'm very familiar with walking across those tracks in that back property because my oldest son played baseball for junior league as well as JV. That used to be our JV diamond back there, and we'd all park there, hop over the tracks. My concern is, number one, I was at this podium and I was at Washington Unified's podium in 2018 asking over and over, when has the public been included on this? Because it's never been talked about with the public. The school district does not deem this surplus property. So that is some of my concerns, especially since we're at 120,000 if we back out. Where has this been discussed publicly? It has never even been available, or I've never been given that answer. And I've asked that numerous times. Are the railroad tracks going to be taken out? Are they going to, because the railroad owns the rights to that, are they going to take out those tracks that are right there? Are they going to give us the right of way? Is that going to be a problem and an issue? Because we all know dealing with the railroad isn't always easy. Is there a plan to purchase the school district property? Because again, that's something I've asked. Me and numerous others have asked that over and over and never been given the answers on that. And it's never been discussed at a school board meeting publicly, even though we've asked about it over and over. I'm glad she answered the expiration date on the thing that Luna signed. I know Superintendent Linda Luna signed it because I was against it at the time. Can the city even purchase it since that neighborhood is, or the field is considered a flood zone? Is that something the city can even do? Will the park be locked during school, or will the school be able to use it? Because they're going to need that school, whether they say they are or not. And that beautiful little neighborhood, the Clarendon neighborhood, is very special. It's very established. A lot of families still own it that were original owners. Will there be grants to go for this like the Bright? Does the city have to own it to go for the grants like they did say they had to for the Bright? And I do have a problem with our city being in the real estate business. I get that this is a park. I'm not opposed to the Del Monte Park being a park. I am concerned about the funding, where we're borrowing from Peter, paying from Paul, and moving money all over. Like what was said last meeting about Measure G being used to purchase the Pheasant Club. So those are some of my questions. I do have concerns because I don't think the school district, at least publicly, which it is public property, so therefore the school district and city have to talk about this in the public. Not everything can be done behind closed doors. And that is a lot of, I'm not the only one, I might be the only one up here right now, but I get numerous phone calls about things like this from people that ask me to speak because they can't make it to the meetings or are too intimidated to come and speak to you guys themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lang.
We have no additional requests to speak on this item.
Okay, bringing it back to council. And I did hear a question, which is the railroads, tracks. Can you help explain a little bit more about that? Rick? Rick Toft, our port director, is coming up. He has the history on that.
Yeah, so I can say that I've worked on this project with our port manager, who has been researching the possibility of these abandoned railroads within our city. So I'm going to defer to him to kind of share more about the railroad.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Rick Toff, port manager, also known as the rail guy in town. So City manager asked me to explore acquiring the rail right-of-way from Union Pacific. We are semi-engaged with them, as everyone has noted. Those are uncertain and difficult negotiations. So while we are in process, very uncertain outcome as to whether that right-of-way would ever be relinquished by the railroad.
Sure, go ahead. Mayor Pro Tem Hurley?
Just to make sure, so there's a, because again, it's fairly complex, so I do understand and appreciate public comment. And so you have a couple of potentials here, right? One would be to try to work through this and see what happens. Quite frankly, who knows? The other, if this property was purchased, so then you did have another egress that wasn't through this huge residential area, would you need to then also purchase the additional tracks? I guess I'm trying to understand that. So it's two different, they're two different things.
They are two different,
yeah.
potentially redundant. So no, we wouldn't necessarily have to have the rail if we had the
Yeah.
property.
So that's actually kind of one of the points. And so I'm just wanting to make sure that's actually clear. If this were to be purchased, and again, it's an if it were to be purchased, then actually the rail would be unnecessary.
Still might be nice to have, but right, not critical.
Okay, to again egress to this area. I did just one more question here. A really good point from public comment, and it made me pause and think again, because you've had this park master plan since 2018. We have our intergenerational parks commission. Wasn't there public comment and public opportunity to speak on that plan? I want to make sure that I'm fully understanding that part as well.
This discussion?
Well, because I wasn't, again, just listening to public comment, and maybe I conflated the two because I was unsure, was it public comment here that wasn't allowed? Was it the master plan? Because again, what we're talking about here, right, is trying to access this 26-acre lot that is planned to be a park in the future. That's what we have. And part of what we heard from public comment is, have we ever even had an opportunity? Has the public had an opportunity? And again, unsure if the public comment was talking about the master plan, unsure if it was access to the park, because, right, this literally just came up. So that wouldn't, I'm assuming that wasn't what she was referring to. So the master plan, has that been commented, public had opportunity to talk about that?
So the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan, which outlines all city parks, and it outlines what are considered sustainable projects as well as visionary projects, does reference this parcel at the 1100 Clarendon Street, so the school district property. It is listed in there as the charter school in State Street's neighborhood, because at the time, Washington Unified was operating this as a charter school. I don't know the history of how it became what it is today, but I just know today it's currently being used as a space for some of their elementary schools because they are doing renovations in those spaces.
The master plan, knowing that you don't know the history, has the master, now I'm looking at you, Tracy, sorry.
Oh, sorry, I didn't answer your other question. And yes, when that master plan in 2018 was developed, the Parks, Recreation, and Intergenerational Services Commission absolutely reviewed it, approved it, and the City Council reviewed and approved it.
So there was public opportunity to weigh in on that master plan?
Yes.
Okay, because I was not here, so I want to make sure that I am speaking to that. Last question that I had, again, just in hearing public comment and wanting to make sure I understand, there was this question about why not purchase it, right? And actually heard it for two reasons. One, is there a plan to purchase Bright Park? Would there be a plan to purchase this? I have not heard from you all, as we've talked about Bright Park or even this idea that we would purchase this space. And again, I'm assuming because it's a partnership, but is there a reason why we don't just purchase these lots for parks?
From the school district?
Mm-hmm.
The amount of money that it would cost to purchase this is anywhere from $4 to $5 million, most likely, depending on appraisal. And so that is a decision that the city has not felt was worth the investment. Yes, we do get grant opportunities if we own property. However, we're trying to be very creative and look at other grant opportunities as well. So I know that was a question about this. We will absolutely seek whatever opportunities that we can. But right now, the city has not pursued purchasing the property because this property could be anywhere from $4 to $5 million.
Okay. And in thinking about our partnership with Washington Unified, because this isn't the only partnership we have on parks, I immediately think Bright. I think the Elkhorn Village Park as well, which again is constantly locked. And this, it feels like it is a win-win for both the city and the school district in that we're able to support areas of play and access for them in developing those parcels out, while also being able to support our city and community and having green space. Is that part of it?
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you.
Going back to the other question I heard from public comment, being able to access the park, if we decided to move forward, we have $5 million all of a sudden, we're going to renovate and fix this place up so that it's a beautiful park with everything we want to put in there. Given that it's still next to the school, and I don't know what the plans are for that in the future, would we not have access to the park if we did all of that? Would it be limited to after school hours?
I think I'm a little unsure on your question. So if we work with the school district to renovate this space, you're saying would we still not have access to it? No, that is not our intention. So we would make sure that if we were coming to the table and especially spending our funding, so like this park would be eligible for the park impact fee funding that we talked about earlier, since it's not currently available for open space. So that would be part of our collaboration with them and making sure that we're negotiating that this space does remain open to the public.
I see. Okay, that's helpful because it gave me the impression that it wasn't. Okay.
Bright Park is open to the public, right?
Correct.
Okay, so it would.
It's Elkhorn
It's currently open to the public.
Oh, are we going to put it behind fences?
No, I'm just saying it is currently, is this park currently open to the public?
No.
No, but
That's
this
the
isn't a
difference.
park, this isn't a city park, it's all school districts, so that
Yeah.
makes sense. But the Bright Park would, I think, if I understand this right, what we are proposing would be a similar situation to Bright Park, I think.
Correct.
Okay, I think that's important to clarify.
Right, just that Bright Park is currently open to the public and we still want it to be open to the public, but this is not, and that was what I heard is that it will still not be even though we purchase it. That's what I heard from the public comment.
But you're saying it would be similar to Bright?
Oh, everything turned off. All right.
So if we were to purchase, so right now we don't own it, so of course it's not accessible to the public, but if public dollars were used, it would be similar to the Bright location in that it would be open if we were to move forward, and I keep saying lots of ifs.
Correct. I would not advise using park impact fees to improve that park unless we have public access.
Right, I just wanted to get that clarification. That's all I wanted to.
Mayor, can I just, I want to make sure I have this right. So Del Monte
Go ahead.
would be
Otherwise.
2.5 million, is that correct? that what you're
2.4 million.
2.5.
It was listed for 2.5 million.
Okay, so the 26 acres, you're saying that would be 4 or 5 million?
We are not purchasing that. The question was, why wouldn't we explore? And so I was only sharing recent data that was from park appraisals. So we are not pursuing purchasing that.
And I'm sorry, give me the acreage again on the Del Monte? What was it? 26. 26.
Yes.
It's more just a comment. This is actually like a really fascinating property because, the conversation about buying it, about improved mobility in the community. This actually sits like dead in center of two major off-ramps, Jefferson and Harbor Boulevard. And currently, if you're coming from Southport, the only way to get there I shouldn't say that. I said, if you're looking to get there, you're going to be hitting Park and going through the neighborhood. Opening this up on the Del Monte side would give us access from Harbor Boulevard, and it actually might be quicker for folks to take the freeway and jump off at Harbor to get to this property. If you're coming from Southport, we could come up north, jump on Stone Boulevard, and hit Seabrian Street and completely avoid Park. Park Boulevard sits in my district, and I've walked Park Boulevard with neighbors. And the amount of cars that use that as a thoroughfare and treat it like an industrial neighborhood, which it's not, it's incredibly dangerous. And we've improved the area recently and added more bike lanes, and working with staff to extend that through the park, the entirety of Park Boulevard. But if we can get cars off of Park to this park, in through the industrial area or through the freeway, I think that's absolutely a win-win. And so I'm supportive of, this item and investigating what this looks like, whether the building is used or not. We'll look for staff to make a recommendation on that, but you have my support.
Thank you.
And for future discussions, to put it in the county and city 2x2, just take a look at revenue sources for the purchase, so that we can explore what other options we have for the 2.4 million in the meantime.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay, thank you. And with that, since I didn't hear a whole lot of opposition, other questions, but I'll accept a motion to approve this item.
I'll move.
Split seconds.
Madam Clerk, Councilmember Sulpicio Hall moved, Mayor Pro Tem Early seconded. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Sulpicio Hull.
Aye.
Councilmember Alcala.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mayor Pro Tem Early.
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. I don't feel so. We will move up our regular agenda item 20. And under community development is consideration of award of professional services contract to Nomad Transit LLC for the on-demand rideshare program, and approval of resolution 24-61 approving related budget adjustments. And we have a short intro here provided by Community Development Department Senior Transportation Planner, Ms. Stephanie Chan.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Stephanie Chan, Senior Transportation Planner. We have presented this.
Can you speak a little louder?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Let me move down the mic a little bit.
Sure.
I've presented this item a couple of times to City Council and came to City Council last month in May with the budget options. This was intended to be a consent item, and I don't have a presentation for you tonight, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And with that, I'll ask council members if there are any questions. We did have a pretty good presentation on that. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak?
We have 2 requests to speak on this item. Larry Langford.
Good evening, ladies. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I've been driving with VIA for over 2 years now. I think most of you know that. I know it's not important to a lot of people, but in my opinion, VIA is one of the, if not the best thing that the city of West Sacramento has ever done for its people. With that said, the vast majority of the riders, especially the ones that I've taken lately, are very upset and have been for a month or two. Why are they upset? Because the weekly pass that it was available is no longer on the app. I know staff tells you that that's affected by only 5 or 10% of the people, but I think they have their numbers wrong, because it's more like 90 to 95% of the people cannot access that pass. In case people aren't familiar with how VIA works, it's $3.50 a ride. If you're elderly or disabled, you get it for half price, so it'd be $1.75. The weekly pass is $15. It gives you 4 rides a day, 7 days a week. The vast majority of the riders that we have are students, elderly people, disabled people, lower income people, and if you'll excuse the expression, blue-collar workers, not white-collar workers, okay? This system, VIA, is very, very important and fantastic for the people of West Sacramento, not just the residents, but the people that work here. I strongly urge you to keep, if we are keeping VIA, which I hope we do, we work with them to make sure that that weekly pass is available at $15. Even $20 would be a fantastic deal. But to eliminate that weekly pass, I would just talk to a couple the other day that work at Walmart. They live at Sacramento and 6th Avenue. Their cost to go to Walmart, both of them, they do not have a car, is $30 a week, $120 a month. Since they have not been able to access the weekly pass, that has cost them $280 a month now to get to work. If they take Lyft or Uber, it's about $20 round trip every single day. I really encourage we keep that weekly pass and look into it and realize that I don't care what staff, which staff it is, whether it's the city of West Sacramento or the VIA, they have their information wrong. I just talked to 2 drivers and several riders today. The weekly pass is still not available to 90 to 95% of the riders, not only 5 or 10%. The other issue I have is I heard the last presentation was talking about going across the river to certain locations in Sacramento. West Sacramento subsidizes VIA for the people of West Sacramento that live here and that work here. We have no business subsidizing people to go over to Sacramento. I understand the survey said, do you want to go to Sacramento? And they said, yes, the vast majority. But if you ask them if they want to go to Woodland or Davis, they'll probably say yes too. I take less than 5% of the riders that I get or pick up at the Tower Bridge area. Most of them are right here. So please keep it the way it is. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Thank you.
Danny Langford?
Pretty much said what I was going to say, but it is important to keep it here in West Sacramento. Yes, people might want to go over to Kaiser or RT or whatever, but who's going to say, oh, just drop me off here at Golden One, I'll walk the rest of the way. People are going to take advantage of that, guaranteed. And like Larry said, this has been such a great program, and I am the first to say I was against it when it came out, 100%. Was not for it at all. Then I got to know people that actually utilize it, elderly, disabled. I have a friend that's legally blind that uses it when her husband's on the road. So many students use it. So many students use it because we don't have bus service for everywhere. So I encourage you as well to leave it. And the pass situation is huge. We have a lady at our church that uses it all the time, and she won't be able to use it if we don't have those passes available. And that's heartbreaking. And the couple that Larry talked to, that's heartbreaking to me. Are we going to make those people homeless or out of jobs because they can't afford to get to work after we've offered this to them? Find it somewhere, please. Keep it down. And we do need something locally. I know that some of our staff helps with some of the calls, but it is sometimes hard to navigate with the language barriers because it goes out of the country sometimes when you call because they do whatever outside of the country, you know, with the call centers, what I'm trying to say. Anyway, it is an important thing. And again, I was against it, but I'm for it. And I think it's one of the best things that we have offered this community in a very long time. Thank you.
Mayor, may I just get some clarification? Thank you.
Let me just close public comment first.
We have no additional requests to speak.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to back to council. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Councilmember Alcala.
Could someone just please clarify, because I heard that the $15 pass was accessible on one of the websites, and now I'm hearing from members of the public that it's not. Oh, there you go.
Sure. So the VIA pass issue is a technical issue coming from the application. VIA is working on fixing that issue right now. We have notified any riders who have experienced that issue to contact VIA support. If you are paying more than the VIA pass amount for the week, they will credit you anything else you're paying for that week. So that's how we're working through it now. It is just, from my understanding, a issue on the Android devices, so Apple devices are not experiencing this issue. Additionally, I feel like there is, we're hearing more of this issue because VIA pass riders account for about 50%, half of our weekly ridership, so like they are a predominant number of our weekly riders.
Okay, so we're still at $15 though.
It's still $15, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
And then with this new contract, because we're still operating with our current contract, there's been no conversation about removing that weekly pass. That will continue
No, we are not removing the pass. Again, it's just a technical issue on the app.
with this new contract.
Yeah, with this new contract, it remains the same. Via Pass remains as part of the program. If we are to adjust any fares, that is a policy decision that must go through City Council.
Thank you. Accept a motion, sorry, are we all done? That needs, I'll accept a motion to approve agenda item 20.
I'll move.
Second. Councilmember Sulpicio Hall moved and Councilmember Alcala seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sulpicio Hall.
Aye.
Councilmember Acala.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Early.
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. All right, this item is approved. Next, we move to our public hearing agenda item 18 under economic development, which is a public hearing to consider Resolution 24-56 adopting the 2024-2025 Annual Action Plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program and our Economic Development and Housing Community Investment Planner, Mr. Isaiah Alford, please present.
Good evening, Mayor Guerrero and members of the council. My name is Isaiah Alford. I'm the Community Investment Planner in the EDH department. This evening, I'll be presenting information on the proposed activities for the 2024 Annual Action Plan. Staff requests that the council open a public hearing to take any comments, and upon closing the public hearing, staff respectfully requests the council to vote to approve Resolution 24-56, adopting the 2024 Annual Action Plan. As the council may recall, the city of West Sacramento became an entitlement jurisdiction, which enabled the city to receive funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in 2016. According to HUD regulations, the city must develop a 5-year consolidated plan, examining the needs of low-income persons and neighborhoods, and setting goals for the use of CDBG funds. Each year, the city must develop an annual action plan, which consists of activities and actions to address priority needs and goals identified through the consolidated plan. No more than 15% of the annual allocation may be used on public services. On May 7th, HUD announced the CDBG allocations for the 2024 program year. The city will receive an allocation amount of $519,475 and $100,000 in anticipated program income and a carryover amount of $100,000 in prior year resources. As the council may recall, the staff held a workshop in March 2024 to discuss the proposed CDBG activities. The activities presented before you today follow staff's prior recommendations. So the first activity is the Homeless Emergency Housing Rehabilitation Project. Up to $482,660 will be used to support the rehabilitation needs for the city's homeless emergency housing programs. In December 2020, the city acquired the former Roadway Inn, which is a 40-unit motel, which was used to house homeless individuals in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In May 2023, the city expanded its homeless emergency housing by acquiring the 21-unit former Flamingo Motel. Both motels were acquired for homeless individuals with the goal of getting program participants stabilized and moved into permanent housing. These housing programs are expected to cease operations in December 2025 and June 2026. However, in April 2024, City Council approved the purchase of the Pickwick Motel and El Tejon Motel. Both sites will provide interim housing for persons experiencing homelessness. The Pickwick Motel and the El Tejon Motel will require rehabilitation needs, which may include but not limited to full electrical system upgrades, roof replacements, heating and cooling unit replacements, and installation of safety and security equipment such as lighting and cameras. This project does support Consolidated Plan Goal Number 1 and Goal Number 2 by addressing the needs of homelessness. The second activity is Home Key Supportive Services. This activity supports case management contract for the Home Key program located at the former Roadway Inn. Up to $92,920 will be used to support the contract. This activity also fulfills Consolidated Plan Goal Number 1 because it addresses homelessness. And then the last activity is the general administration and planning. Up to $143,895 will be used for program administration activities. These activities include reporting to HUD, conducting the environmental review for CDBG-funded projects, and planning activities such as the 2024 Annual Action Plan and the 2023 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report. And lastly, the funding will provide fair housing services to West Sacramento residents. The city is limited to 20% of the annual allocation for general administration. A 30-day public comment period was initiated from March 1st, 2024 through April 1st, 2024, and staff did receive public comments. One comment received concerned the use of CDBG funds to build and improve parks. Staff currently doesn't recommend the CDBG funds being used for this activity at this time because it does not meet our current 5-year consolidated plan goals. Additionally, Yolo County Food Bank submitted a comment concerning the availability of CDBG funds. Staff directed the Yolo County Food Bank to apply for a request for proposal for the Home Key program that is currently utilizing CDBG funds. So in conclusion, staff requests the council to open the public hearing to take any comments, and upon closing the public hearing, staff respectfully requests the council to vote to approve Resolution 24-56, adopting the 2024 Annual Action Plan. Thank you for your time. I'm open for questions and comments.
Thank you, Mr. Elf. Put it up. Yes, Councilmember Alcala.
Thank you also for providing the letters and comments that came in, from the outside. So just a real quick question. Just let everyone know where these community block grants, where the monies come from.
The funding comes directly from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Okay, thank you. And there are no state funds whatsoever used in this?
Not at this time.
Not
no.
this time, okay, great. Thank you.
Right. And Madam Clerk, but I'm going to open it for public comment at this point. Any request to speak on this?
Danny Langford.
Okay, Ms. Langford.
I just want to say, I'm all about helping the homeless, all about it. But when we are putting millions of dollars in block grant money and all that into these hotels and putting them in there and not requiring them to be drug or alcohol free, I have a problem with it. If they're going to get off the street, let's get them clean. And the fact that they're not being required to be clean, and I know this for a fact because I know people that live inside the area. Plus, my husband delivers for Meals on Wheels and sees it every week. But I personally have talked to people that live in there, and some of them are even scared to live in there because of the drug and alcohol use that is in there. So I think there needs to be requirements if we're going to put millions of dollars in these buildings. Thank you.
We have no additional requests to speak on this item.
Closing public comment, bringing it back to council. Councilmember Alcala.
First, I want to begin by saying thank you to the public who makes comments because it really opens up, a lot of questions on our part. So, comment that was made about drug and alcohol free. Are there any requirements that the federal government has when people receive these services? And is there anything that we are prohibited from doing? Let's say we wanted to have such a regulation that you had to be drug and alcohol free.
I would like to defer to my supervisor, Raul.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Thank you for the question. So there is nothing specifically, at least from the CDBG program, that requires that individuals that participate in these types of programs are required to be drug-free. And in California, that may actually be against the law. Some of the funding sources, depending on where they come from, may have some restrictions. The way that these programs were originally set up, they're meant to be low barrier entry housing, because that is ultimately the goal of the program, is to get these individuals that may have substance abuse issues, that may have mental health issues, to get them stabilized, try to get them to participate, in programs so that they, are drug-free eventually. Again, the ultimate goal of the program is to get these individuals into permanent housing. So that's completely right. There is no requirement, but again, the goal is to get these individuals stabilized and get them into some permanent housing, getting them the help that they need, whether it's substance abuse treatment, mental health services, so that they can actually reintegrate into the community.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? Thank you for that explanation, Mr. Huerta. I know it's not easy to address the substance abuse issue. I think what would help, I mean, other than, requiring it, is additional services on behalf of the county where I think individuals would qualify for substance abuse treatment. And the alternative is to not house them. And so I'm not sure I could accept that alternative at this point, if, making it a requirement, because I think it's going to be really hard, especially without services. You say you have to remain abstinent, but what are they going to be able to do to get the support they need? I'm not sure. But that's not a question we can answer. We're a city who is looking at addressing homelessness. Like every other city, it's a crisis. It's at a crisis level. And, I just heard today that Sacramento's number has gone down. I believe our number has gone down as well. And this is thanks to what, I go and advocate for at the federal level. At the federal level is more funding for CDBG. And, Mr. Huerta, we had that meeting with the federal official as well, discussing some of the things that we're doing here in West Sacramento to address homelessness. So, there's, I think cities are very challenged with what we can. We're not experts in who is, addicted to drugs, who's using drugs. Our focus is getting people housed. And then, working with our county partner, who fortunately we received a grant to kind of meet those parameters where if you're going to be housed with this new grant funding that we got at the, from the county to provide that treatment, and that as a model could help us to move forward. So although this is not what CDBG and that discussion is about here, there are other programs that I see that we're working on and working in partnership with the county to address that issue. Councilmember Alcala.
Thank you. Sorry, my nails scratched the microphone. I did have a question. Do we keep numbers, do we keep data on the duration that people are on this program? How many actually transition out? Do we have those numbers available for?
Yes, we do, and we can make those numbers available. I don't know them off the top of my head, but everybody who participates in the program is entered into the countywide Health Management Information System, HMIS. So they're tracked not only when they go in, when they exit the program, what services they are receiving, what services they need, attempts to house them. The intent of that HMIS system is to track them so that if they move somewhere else, they know what services they have received in the past or in other jurisdictions and what services they may still be needing. One last thing that I do want to add on the prior question, though, is, while we don't require that individuals stay drug-free, we do have house rules. They do have house rules that they have to follow, right? And individuals will be and can be exited from the program if they don't follow those house rules. Matter of fact, unfortunately, there have been some individuals that have been exited because of not following those house rules or making threatening comments to staff or to other members. So we do try to have mechanisms to try to avoid dangerous situations or situations that are not convenient and healthy for the programs. But so just wanted to add that.
One more follow-up question. Every time we reference this, it sounds like maybe it's just one individual. Do we have actually families in this program?
No, typically it's individuals. The programs that we have set up are meant to house individuals. They may have couples, but typically we don't have families. We just, at this point, didn't feel like it was the best thing to place children or minors in that type of setting. We certainly, this is the first time that we are getting ourselves into providing these types of services, so we didn't feel like it was adequate for us to run programs that included minors. So it's all adults, and it's typically individuals, but you may have couples.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you had a parent with an addiction or something like that with a minor child, so none at all, right?
Not off the top of my head that I can think of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just on that, understand that you don't have it off the top of your head. I would like a guarantee that we don't have children being housed here, particularly with all the factors that we've talked about here. It sounds like you are almost sure. I feel like you are like 99% sure.
That is correct.
Anytime we're talking about kids, I want to be 100%.
Correct.
So it would be great, if after this, if you could just.
Yes, we can certainly do that. And Mark Sawyer, who you'll know, they keep track of all those records of who is in the locations, and we can get that information to you.
Thank you.
But I do know we do have programs where families.
Correct. So typically, if there is a family that needs assistance, I know that our homeless manager has some funding set aside where he can provide vouchers to them. That's typically what is done, right? Again, we try not to place families or minors in our programs, but if he does come into those situations, he does have some funding to provide him vouchers for them to stay at a motel, and then work with them to try to find them other alternatives.
All right, good. With that, if there are no other questions, I believe we have to take action on this, and I'll accept a motion to approve this item.
Early moves to approve.
I'll second.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem Early moved, and Councilmember Sulpicio Hull seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sulpicio Hull.
Aye.
Councilmember Ocala.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Early.
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero.
This item is, thank you, Mr. Alford, for all your hard work on this. Our next item under community development is a public hearing and consideration of first reading of ordinance 24-8 pertaining to an amendment to the term of the River Park Development Agreement. Our Community Development Department Senior Planner, Mr. Seamus Laffey, please present.
Yes, good evening. This item is consideration of a second amendment to the River Park Development Agreement, requesting an extension of 2 years. So next slide. I have a short presentation here. So for a little bit of background, the River Park project was originally approved in 2008. It is in the southeast corner of Southport, shown in the black circle here on the map. This is the city's zoning map. Shortly after, the River Park project was approved, the zoning and general plan were updated to reflect the densities and the types of land uses in the River Park project. So the properties down there are all zoned for a variety of densities of residential. Next slide. Since the project was approved in 2008, the Southport Levee Improvement Project was built. It took a considerable portion of the property for the levee, the setback levee. So this aerial shows the location of the project now compared to where it used to be in that area between the red line and the river. That's that part of the river. Next slide. So here's some photos of that. Next slide. Next slide. So this is background for why the project has taken so long. It was approved in 2008. You may recall it was extended last year. Staff are reviewing modifications. There's quite a lot of work left to do still with the applicant. So we're requesting a 2-year extension. Next slide. Next slide. So this would extend it to July 18th of 2026. It would extend all the obligations required by the developer. Staff feels that the existing development agreement is quite favorable to the city. There are things in there that you couldn't normally get without a development agreement, such as funding for police, a master affordable housing agreement, funding for enhanced transit and traffic improvements in that area of the city. I have noted those in the agenda report. So with that, I'll conclude my presentation, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Laffey. Bringing it back to council for questions to staff. If anybody has any questions, not, we'll open it up for public comment. Madam Clerk?
Jean Endicott.
Mr. Endicott?
Hello, Mayor and council members. I just want to briefly indicate that on behalf of Sun Capital, the developer of the project, that it's supportive of the staff recommendation to extend the DA by 2 years. And if you do have questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Danny Langford.
Hello, Mrs. Langford, once again.
Don't you just when I'm here. I know you guys are probably going to move forward on this, and I want to say I do appreciate Jean and Michael Smith for meeting with myself, my husband, and our neighbors. I will say we've never been okay with a high density, as you guys were led to believe when it was being approved way back when, especially now that it's on less property. And I would like to know where the updated EIR and traffic impact report is that the city has not released yet, and I'd like to know why it hasn't been released. I'd also like Mr. Tilley to be honest about the number of rooftops that we have out in Southport, because we do have far more than 8,000, and the cap is supposed to be 16,109. I've made numerous requests at this podium in writing. I've never been answered by the city manager or the city planner over the years. So I would like that accurate number, not 8,000, because I know from the consultant that came for the school district that we have closer to probably 11,000 in my adding of the numbers that was presented that night. I've tried doing another public records request, but frankly, the city website is very hard to maneuver and figure out where to send what to who. So with that said, I'm sure this is going to move forward tonight, but I would like it to be under the guise of keeping in the back of your mind that we don't need the higher density out there. You want higher density? The Bridge District is perfect. It's closer to downtown and those areas. We're rural residential out there. Most of us that live in the areas that are going to be directly impacted by River Park behind us and Liberty in front of us are rural residential. Most of us have 1 acre or more lots. I think there's one lot in that group that is a ½ acre between the Clarksburg Trail and the levee. So please be mindful of that. Please make them adhere, and I will say they are being good about the resolution because we, the community, had to give it to them. Why is staff not including that resolution in these development agreements? I do not understand that. I should not have to provide the developer with stuff that staff has had since 2006 or 2008, whenever it was signed. I don't have it in front of me tonight. So with that said, thank you.
We have no additional requests to speak on this item.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any other Councilmember Acala?
I have a few questions. What was the original amount of housing that was supposed to go out there?
So the original development agreement for this spec provided as attachment 3. There's 2 numbers. So there's what was in the environmental impact report, and that's the entire Southeast Village. And then there's what's in the development agreement. The development agreement is only with a property owner who they don't control the entire Southeast Village. Right. So the development agreement before you tonight is 2,284 units.
Okay. And how many are being built out there for this
Nothing
2-year
is,
extension, if you give it?
The project is not under construction right now. We did provide information in the agenda report about the number of housing units built in Southport, and we got that from the latest census data and also Esri Business Analyst. It's a little over 8,000, 8,481 based off of the 2020 census.
Okay, so there hasn't been an increase in what the developer has, so 2,284. Member of the public also asked about an updated EIR. Do we have one?
So that's one of the things we're working on. The city, the consultant is producing the environmental document. They are working on it. We've provided comments on a draft that was about a year ago, a full draft. They are working off those comments, and we are anticipating getting an updated draft to review sometime soon. But once the draft is completed and it's ready for public review, the public review draft then would go out for comment.
Okay, and when is that public review supposed to go out? Because we're going to have if we give the 2-year extension, when would that be going out?
I couldn't say the exact date right now. Probably 6 months to a year from now.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor? Yes, Councilmember Sulpicio Hall.
Thank you. In regards to the density out here, obviously we have the Southport Framework Plan, which has zoning and has certain density levels. Has there been any change to this area since any of our planning documents and our general plan documents?
The general plan approved in 2016 incorporated the land uses for Southport Framework Plan. So if the first slide had the zoning map, that showed that a lot of the properties down there are already zoned for single-family residential, R2 and R3. R3 is multifamily. So you can see here the colors that have the lines through them. That's single-family residential. Kind of the brown color in the middle, that's R3 multifamily, and the rest are R2. R2 it's essentially single family. It's just a little bit smaller lots. And the buffer, the rural estate buffer, or the RRA buffer, you can see along Davis Road there, is in the general plan currently.
Member Alcala.
Thank you. Could you just clarify for the public what single versus multifamily?
So multifamily is apartments or triplexes or fourplexes where you have more than one dwelling unit attached. A single family is just a single family home. So really multifamily, you have more units to the acre.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead. Mayor Pro Tem.
I just want to make, yeah, you were, okay, making sure. So I just have a couple of questions. And one of the things I hear about pretty frequently is traffic and being able to get in and out. And as we particularly put in higher density residential in Southport, are we taking into account trying to get out of Southport and folks feeling like it is an island and there's only one way in, one way out? I know there is more than one way in and one way out, but I hear that a lot. So how is traffic concerns taken into account here?
Yeah, so that's going to be that's one of the sections in the environmental impact report. It's actually the way we measure it now is vehicle miles traveled. So generally in that area of Southport, the vehicle miles traveled for new development is higher than the regional average. So when you're higher than the regional average or more than a certain threshold, it's considered a significant impact. So how do you mitigate higher VMT? So that's one of the things we've been working on a lot with the consultant and the applicant is ways for this project to make it more walkable, incorporate more of a variety of land uses. How do you get people out of cars and walking, cycling, taking other forms of transit like VIA? So it's all about lowering VMT. And that'll be addressed in the CEQA document and also through the master plan. One of the ways it could be through in the DA as well is funding for more trails, funding for alternative transit. This development agreement has a section about funding for enhanced transit. So it's kind of a culmination of things. How do you lower VMT?
So one of the things I heard in response to Councilmember Akla's question regarding the EIR, and you didn't answer it directly, I'm gonna be honest, was so we, about a year ago, it sounds like, gave our comments back regarding the EIR. And at some point in time, It always makes me nervous when people use words like soon or try or we're anticipating. Have we actually given a deadline for when we would expect the EIR to come back to us?
We have not given the consultant a deadline for when they need to turn around the environmental impact report.
It's been a year.
So I mean, there are certain things we've been working on. We can definitely, speed it up and get it.
I always think it's helpful just to give people a goal. It's not even maybe one of those things where you say, we need it by this time and make it so, even as much as, no, for real, when are you going to get it to us by? Let's make that the goal. Because it would be helpful in regards to transparency. I think it's fair, completely fair statement. I'm particularly interested if what you're saying that the traffic mitigation and the VMT is going to happen in the EIR and the documents that follow. That's a huge concern for Southport residents. And again, we hear it I think all of us hear it constantly. I definitely hear it quite a bit. And so if what we're waiting for is to get that, what I would love to see is an actual time frame of when we should expect to see that.
I don't have that right now, but I can
Oh,
ask,
no, I know,
yeah.
but that's my job is to actually give you direction.
Yeah, so I'll go back with the consultant. When we first got that review, staff felt the VMT was too high. So then it's, okay, how do we lower the VMT? And there's a whole menu of options, and it's really how do we incorporate that into the project. So, staff, we want to feel comfortable with what kind of mitigation is proposed, and that is actually realistic, and can get done. So definitely.
I agree with all of that. The only thing you're hearing me say is put a date on it.
All right.
Councilmember Alcala. And just a real quick question. We were talking about parks, and I noticed in here you have a commercial zone. What is going into that commercial zone? Are any of the developers putting in like little park hubs or anything in there?
Yeah, so the master plan from 2008 shows a small retail commercial area right there along the trail and along Village Parkway. I think it's roughly around 5,000 square feet, maybe 10,000 square feet roughly it's a little commercial area, neighborhood serving commercial.
Okay, like what's going to go in there?
Well, it really depends on the private market. Whatever our the land use is allowed would be what's in the commercial zoning. So you could see restaurants there, you could see barbershops, nail salons, dry cleaners, convenience stores, little stores like that you might see in town center.
We can recoup this.
Yeah,
Take a look at that.
sounds good.
And work with the developer too.
And just really quickly, any little park areas? Park areas, well, developers sometimes allow.
The RP, Rex Reed.
Which one is it?
Other zones. Plus the levee. Levee's going to be all built out right then. And then we're going
By
to
then, yeah.
the trail.
It's good for bike.
We got a trail out there too,
All right.
right?
Yes, they are providing a central park and then also trails, and the modifications that we're working on now shows additional parks scattered throughout the neighborhood.
Okay.
Another pool, just kidding.
That'd be nice.
I can never have enough pools. So I agree with Mayor Pro Tem Hurley. I think we need to have some firm dates on some of these things that I think we have residents who their livelihood is their property and would like to know what is happening in the development of these projects. So to the extent that we can have more information for them to be aware of what their neighbors or, what this big development is going to look like. It's been a long time. It's 2008. That's a very long time. We're now at, double digits here on how long it's taken. So I do know there was kind of like a pause in the potential of all these developments happening. I mean, especially with the recession, long pause for that. But also the inquiry of the number of rooftops and how many they are. You said the number's in there, and that is the accurate count based on the census. Do we not have that separate and apart from the census? Do we not have our own information on permits, housing, things like that?
We have permit history, but some portions of Southport were built prior to.
I see.
So the most accurate data we rely on is the census data.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure, go ahead.
So if you start with 2020 just as your baseline, and then use that to add since then the permits that have been added, you might get you actually might get a more accurate number or more up-to-date number. Again, I don't do this for a living. I'm just throwing things out there.
I'm sure we can go into our permit system and pull that data.
Okay. Whoops. Yes, we have to approve the extension. Are we all done with the questions? Yes, sure. I'll accept a motion to approve. Moved.
Early seconds.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Amos. And Madam Clerk, sorry, Councilmember Alcala moved, and Mayor Pro Tem Early seconded. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Sulpicio Hull?
Aye.
Councilmember Acala?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Early?
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero?
Aye. All right. Is approved. I don't know why I lost it. And next we will go to our general administration, function part 2. And do we have any reports from our council assignments?
Yeah, I'll report out quickly.
Mayor Pro Tem Early?
You can go ahead.
Okay, great. In regards to the Yolo County Housing Authority, we actually adopted our budget, which is really important. Tomorrow, June 10th, so next Monday, we have the Yolo Transportation District, in which we will be taking up the annual budget for the following fiscal year there as well. And so those are just a couple of things. And then I also have Transportation Committee for SACOG tomorrow as well.
Yes, you do. All right, thank you. Councilmember Sulpicio Hall.
Thank you. May 20th, Yoloso Basin Groundwater Agency met. We had a pretty robust update on groundwater legislation, AB 2079, SB 1390, and AB 2065 are being closely watched. I just want to give a shout out to Assemblymember Aguiar Curry, who has been helping our team and just such incredible positive feedback for her advocating for groundwater legislation. For the last several months, probably over a year, we've been working on our well permitting procedure, and we finally have permits in the pipeline that we're going through the new permitting process with, and we're happy to report that it's going very well, and we're getting positive feedback from all of the applicants. That same day, the Yellow Habitat Conservancy met. We approved our annual plan. You can find that online. We approved quite a few contracts for our subcontractors that we work with, and there was a conversation about if it was time to go out to bid or not. But the work that we do with the Yellow Habitat Conservancy is very, very specialized, and there's certain folks that there's only one person in the region that does this kind of work, so we're going to put together a group that's going to kind of review the contracts to make sure that we're being transparent and making sure that we're going out to bid when necessary. But the high-level thing is our annual report. It's in the 4th full year, and so if anybody's interested in reviewing what the streamlined permitting process looks like and how we balance conservation and economic growth, you can find that online.
All right, thank you.
I reported last meeting we had, and I have meetings coming up this month.
Sounds good. I don't have any updates. City manager report. Oh, sorry, council calendar updates.
I just have one update for the calendar. It's not on there yet, but the 13th of June at 10:30 is the ribbon cutting for the new trailhead on Linden. So put that on your calendars.
City manager report.
No report.
City attorney report.
Nothing to report.
All right, and then staff direction from city council members. Madam Clerk, I wanted to bring up the update on commission appointments. We have some appointments to make at our next meeting.
Yes, ma'am. The recruitment for the Transportation, Mobility, and Infrastructure Commission closed on Thursday, May 30th at 5 p.m. I have all of the applications gathered from previous applicants whose applications we've had on file for the past 2 years, and those who submitted applications in this latest recruitment. They've been emailed to the City Council this evening for your review, and this item will be on the City Council agenda on June 26th as a regular agenda item for the City Council to deliberate and for the mayor to make her appointments.
All right, thank you. And we have a future agenda item request by Councilmember Orozco to issue a proclamation for Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month for our June 26, 2024 council meeting. And just wanted to add that, and she wanted to add the proclamation to the list of annual proclamations to be presented in the month of May, starting 2025. I did have just a quick comment about that. I know we haven't had it as a regular list, and we should add it to the list. But there is recognition of our AAPI community through the Dragon Boat Festival celebration. And a little bit of background on the Dragon Boat Festival celebration is pretty significant in the community. It's a 2,300-year-old, historical, traditional celebration. And it's, the OA Advocate Sacramento, they get together, and this last year they recognized Sacramento District Attorney Ten Ho, Sierra Health, and Sacramento State for their ability to, be very inclusive and to protect the AAPI community from just some challenging, just stigma and racial attacks. And so I think I have been attending the Dragon Boat Festival and did attend this last one with Councilmember Orozco. And so this celebration is around Asian American Heritage Month, where we do recognize them. And so it's not like we haven't, because it's not been included on our agenda. And I just want to make that known for the public, as I let Councilmember Orozco know, that we have been recognizing the community. It's pretty significant to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I just will accept, do we have to vote on this, or is it just consensus?
I'm nodding yes.
Yes, okay, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. To recognize it during Asian Pacific Islander Month, right? Okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
All right, you have a go on it. All right, next is motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Early seconds.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sulpicio Hull.
Aye.
Councilmember Acala.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Early.
Aye.
Mayor Guerrero.
Aye. All right, this item is approved. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night. Just noticing Carlitos is